A deadly sandstorm crawled across the lonely frontier moon, turning the sky into a wall of dust and roaring wind. Reed, a human miner who lived far from the main colony, was checking the locks on his supply shelter when he heard something strange. At first, it sounded like the wind pushing against metal. But then the sound repeated soft, shaking, almost like a child crying. Reed froze. No one came this far out. No one survived outside during a storm like this. He stepped closer to the calm noise, and suddenly a small hand grabbed the side of his jacket. He looked down and saw his daughter, 8 years old, her cheeks dusty, her eyes wide with worry. She should have been inside. She should have been safe. But she had run out into the storm for a reason. "She needs help," the girl whispered. Almost unable to speak through the blowing dust, Reed bent down, shielding her from the storm with his body. "Who needs help?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The little girl pointed into the darkness behind her. "Please, Dad, she is dying." Reed didn't ask more. He trusted his daughter's heart more than anything. He took her hand, and they pushed through the storm, the wind pulling at their clothes like invisible claws. After a few minutes of searching, Reed saw something behind a pile of broken metal sheets, something curled, thin, and shaking. When he came closer, he realized it was a woman. An alien woman. Her skin was pale and cracked, marked with hunger and cold. Her body was so thin that he could count her ribs even in the dim stormlight. She stared up at Reed with terrified eyes, expecting him to yell, push her away, or worse. Reed slowly knelt beside her. He offered her water, but she didn't take it. She pushed his hand away weakly, shaking her head, as if she believed humans would punish her for accepting anything. The little girl crawled to the alien widow's side and hugged her with her small shaking arms. She whispered into the widow's ear, "My dad is kind. Marry him, and you will never go hungry again." Reed blinked in shock. Marry? His daughter had said strange things before, but this was new. The alien woman stared at the girl, confused and overwhelmed. Tears formed at the corners of her eyes, but she still didn't accept the water. Reed didn't know what to say. He wanted to ask his daughter why she said that. He wanted to understand who this mysterious widow was, but there was no time. The storm was getting worse. And then Reed heard a roar in the darkness. Not the wind, something alive, something big. He snapped his head toward the sound. The creature's shadow moved slowly, hunting through the dust, searching for weak prey. And the starving alien woman lying helpless on the ground was the easiest prey in the storm. Reed didn't think. He lifted the alien widow carefully, feeling how light she was, like she had not eaten properly in weeks. His daughter grabbed his jacket tightly, staying close to him. "Hold on," Reed said, and he began to run. Behind them, the creature roared again, closer now, loud enough to shake the ground. Reed pushed forward, each step heavy in the thick sand. Wind hit his face, dust cut into his skin. The creature followed, its heavy feet slamming the ground, its breath hot and angry. Reed reached the shelter door. He slammed the emergency button. But the door opened slowly, too slowly. The creature's glowing eyes appeared through the dust, locking onto them. "Hurry," whispered, pulling his daughter and the widow inside. The creature charged. The door slid shut just in time. Its claws scraped the metal, and its roar echoed through the walls like thunder. Reed stepped back, breathing hard. His daughter hugged the alien widow tightly, who finally accepted the water with trembling hands. When the storm sound faded just a little, Reed finally looked at the widow properly. Her skin was still pale, her breaths were weak, and her eyes showed fear, but also something else. Hope. The first hope she had felt in a long time. Reed didn't know who she was. He didn't know why a creature was hunting her. He didn't know why his daughter whispered about marriage. But he knew one thing. This woman had suffered enough. And whatever danger was following her, It had now found his home. The real story was just beginning. Inside the shelter, everything felt too quiet. The storm still screamed outside, but the room itself was filled with a strange silence. Reed gently placed the alien widow on a soft blanket. Near the heater, she sat stiffly, her shoulders tight, as if she was ready to run the moment he turned away. His daughter stayed close to her, holding her hand like she had known her for years, not minutes. Reed watched them both. He wanted to understand. "What's your name?" he asked softly. The widow lowered her eyes. Her voice was faint, almost broken. "Lyra," she whispered. Reed nodded. "I'm Reed, and this little troublemaker is my daughter Mira." Mira smiled proudly, but Lyra didn't return it. She looked like she was scared to even breathe in the same space as humans. Reed went to the small cooking unit and heated some broth, simple, warm, something gentle for someone who had been starving. The smell filled the room. Mira's stomach growled. Lyra's hands trembled. Reed offered the bowl. Lyra stared at it like it was forbidden. Her lips shook. "I cannot take human food," she whispered, her voice shaking with fear. "If I take it, they hurt me." Reed's chest tightened. "Who hurt you?" he asked. Lyra didn't answer. She only looked down, her long fingers twisting together. The silence told him enough. Someone had abused her kindness before. Someone had taught her to fear even the smallest gift. Mira gently pushed the bowl closer. "My dad doesn't hurt people," she whispered. "He helps." Lyra looked into the child's eyes and saw no lies, no threat, only kindness. Slowly she lifted the bowl. Her hands shook so hard the broth almost spilled. When she tasted the first sip, her eyes widened. Tears fell freely down her face, dropping into the bowl. She tried to hide her crying, but her body trembled too much. Reed pretended not to notice. He wanted her to keep her dignity. Myra didn't pretend. She hugged Lyra from the side. "It's okay," she whispered. "You're safe here." After eating, Lyra leaned back against the wall, exhausted but calmer. The fear in her eyes was still there, but something small, maybe comfort, was growing beneath it. Reed cleaned the dishes and sat across from her. "How long were you out there?" he asked. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, as if choosing which truth to share. "Many days," she whispered. "My home was raided. I escaped. I had nowhere to go." "Why didn't you go to the colony?" Reed asked. Lyra flinched. She shook her head. "Humans there do not want my kind. They fear we bring sickness or trouble. Some throw stones. Some worse." Reed felt anger rise inside him, but he kept his face calm. "And Mayra found you today?" Lyra nodded weakly. "She saw me near the market. I begged for scraps. She hid bread in her coat. She told me to wait for her, but guards saw me. They chased me away." Reed turned to Mira. The little girl looked guilty. "I tried to help her," she whispered. "But I couldn't carry her home, so I waited. I thought you would help if you saw her." Reed put a hand on his daughter's shoulder. "You did the right thing," he said. Lyra watched them quietly. Something softened in her expression. She had never seen a human father speak so gently. In her world, kindness was rare. Later, when Myra fell asleep on a pillow beside Lyra, Reed sat alone at the table. He kept the lights dim so the widow wouldn't feel watched. He could feel her eyes on him now and then studying him, measuring the safety of this place. A soft rustle came from her corner. Reed looked up. Lyra was awake, staring at him. "Your daughter," she whispered. She said, "Marry him, you will never be hungry again." Reed rubbed his forehead. "She shouldn't have said that," he murmured. Lyra lowered her head. "She is kind, but she does not understand. I cannot stay here. My trouble will follow. I will bring danger to your door." Reed leaned forward. "Lyra, that creature wasn't a normal storm predator. Something was hunting you, Who is after you? Lyra's breath caught, her hands clenched. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she whispered, "If I tell you, you will want me gone." Reed shook his head. "Try me." Lyra looked into the heater's flames. Shadows danced across her face. "My husband died in the plague. But before he died, he carried something important. Something others want. Something they would kill for." Reed felt a chill that had nothing to do with the storm. "What are they looking for?" Lyra slowly touched a small pendant hidden under her torn clothes. It glowed faintly, like it held a secret. "They want this," she whispered, "and they will come again." At that moment, the storm outside stopped suddenly, like someone had pressed a button. Reed and Lyra looked at each other with the same thought. Silence. This perfect only meant one thing. Something dangerous had arrived. The next morning, the sky outside the shelter was calm, but inside, the tension was rising. Lyra stood near the corner window, staring into the open land, her eyes watching the horizon like she expected ghosts to appear. Mira, the little girl, played quietly with a small puzzle cube, but she kept glancing at the alien widow as if trying to make her smile again. Reed was fixing the power unit. The silence between them all felt too heavy, like everyone was waiting for something to go wrong. He finally broke the quiet. "Lyra, who's chasing you?" he asked again. Lyra didn't answer. She just kept staring at the land outside. Reed stepped closer. "I saw the pendant. It wasn't just decoration. What's inside it?" Lyra turned to him slowly. Her voice was low. "This moon used to be full of life. But war took everything. Before my husband died, he gave me something he found in the ruins of the old battlefields. Something he said could wake the war machines again." Reed's heart skipped. Everyone knew about the lost weapons. The giant war walkers buried in sand. The old tech, silent for years. People had died searching for those secrets. "I didn't want it," she said, clutching the pendant under her shirt. "But he made me promise to protect it. Said someday, someone good might use it." Reed rubbed the back of his neck. "Let me guess, someone else wants it too." Lyra nodded. "Scavengers, raiders, one of them. He calls himself General Turk. Not a real general, just a killer. He thinks if he finds the right code, he can control the weapons and rule this moon." Reed muttered a curse under his breath. "And now he knows you're near." Lyra stepped forward. "That thing that chased us last night. It wasn't wild. It was one of Turk's trained beasts. It tracks by scent. I thought I shook it weeks ago." Reed looked around his home. His safe place didn't feel safe anymore. "So Turk will come?" "Yes," Lyra whispered, "and he won't stop." Mira looked up from her toy. "Then we need to stop him first." Reed blinked. "It's not that simple, Mira." The little girl stood up. "You said we protect people who need help. You always say that." Lyra looked at Mira like she was seeing a memory, something soft and lost from another life. That night, while Mira slept, Reed and Lyra sat near the heater again. Reed gave her warm tea, and this time she took it without shaking. "You don't have to stay," she said after a while. "If you give me to them, they'll leave you and your daughter alone." Reed's jaw tightened. "Is that what you think I'd do?" Lyra looked down. "That's what others have done before." Reed leaned forward. "I don't know what happened to you before, but here we don't trade lives. And we don't run." Lyra's eyes shimmered. No one had ever said that to her, not with honesty, not without fear. Later, when everyone was asleep, something triggered the alarm system. Reed grabbed his tool weapon and checked the screen. A camera outside had picked up movement. 3 figures, no lights, no voices. Just shapes moving in the dark. Reed turned off the heater, dimmed the lights, and whispered, "They're here." Lyra woke instantly, already holding Mira in her arms like she expected this. "You should take your daughter and run," she said. Reed shook his head. No, I'm not leaving my home, or you. The figures outside didn't knock. They just circled the shelter, testing the walls. Then, someone spoke through a speaker. We don't want to burn the place down, the voice said. Just give us the widow, and we'll go. Reed's blood boiled. He opened the speaker mic. She's not yours to take. There was a pause, then laughter. You're brave for a miner, the voice said. You've got one chance. Choose now. Reed turned to Lyra. If we don't stop them here, they'll never stop. Lyra slowly pulled out the pendant and placed it in his hand. It's more than a weapon, she said. It's a beacon. Reed stared at the glowing stone, unsure what that meant. Then Lyra added something that made his breath catch. If we use it, others might come. Soldiers, survivors, people from my world. But it also means Turk will come faster. Reed looked at his daughter, sleeping peacefully on the floor, wrapped in blankets. Then he looked back at Lyra. Let's wake the dead, he whispered. Reed held the glowing pendant in his hand. It was warm. Too warm, as if something inside it had just awakened. He looked at Lyra, who watched him silently, her eyes full of worry and fear. What happens if I break it? He asked. It doesn't break, she said. It listens. It was made to respond to truth. Reed frowned. Truth? Lyra nodded. The person who activates it must speak from the heart. That's what my husband told me. If the crystal believes you're using it to hurt, it stays silent. Outside, footsteps moved closer. The raiders had spread out. Someone kicked at the metal wall, testing how strong it was. Come out, miner, the voice yelled. You've got a minute, or we come in. Reed looked down at his daughter, still asleep, unaware of the danger waiting just beyond the walls. He whispered softly, I'm just a miner. I fix drills. I patch leaks. I don't know how to fight generals. Lyra stepped closer. Then don't speak like a warrior. Speak like a father. The crystal pulsed. Once. Reed wasn't sure what that meant, but he knew it was listening. He stood up, walked to the shelter center, and held the pendant high. I don't want power, he said, not shouting, just speaking clearly. I don't want control. I just want to protect my daughter. And this woman, who has suffered more than anyone should. The pendant glowed brighter. A soft hum filled the room. It vibrated gently in his hand. Reed closed his eyes. If there's anything out there, anyone who remembers the good in this world, then hear me now. We need help. We need hope. I don't care if you're machine or ghost or star. Just listen. The hum became louder. Lyra stepped back. It's working. Outside, the ground shook. The raiders paused, confused. The wind, which had been still, suddenly began to swirl. Sand lifted into the air and spun in circles around the shelter. Then, in the distance, a deep rumble echoed through the valley. A giant silhouette rose from the sands. Metal, old, rusted, but still alive. One of the old war walkers. Reed stared in awe as the ancient machine took its first step in years. Sand poured off its back like water. Its glowing eyes flickered on two white lights that stared directly at the shelter. The raiders began to panic. Fall back, someone yelled. It's waking up the machines. But not all of them ran. A second voice shouted, no, that's what we came for. Push forward, grab the woman. Reed grabbed his tool weapon and looked at Lyra. We can't stay inside. They'll blast through. Lyra pulled a small device from her pocket. This links to the war walker, she said. It only listens for a short time. I'll guide it. You protect Mira. Reed opened the door and stepped into the storm of sand and light. Blaster shots flew through the air. Reed ducked, rolling behind a broken crate. He fired back with his mining tool, hitting one raider's arm. The man screamed and dropped his gun. Lyra moved like wind, fast and low, running between the attackers. She pressed a button, and the war walker turned its head. Its arm lifted slow, heavy, and then slammed down into the sand, sending 2 raiders flying through the air. Screams filled the air. Fire lit the night. The ancient machine wasn't perfect, but it was powerful. It moved with purpose, guarding the shelter like it remembered war. Mira woke inside, scared by the noise. She ran to the door and froze. "Dad," Reed saw her. "Stay inside." He yelled, but it was too late. One raider spotted her and aimed his gun. Reed ran, shouting. "No," but Lyra was faster. She jumped in front of the girl, raising a small energy shield. The blast hit her side, knocking her back. She fell to the ground with a cry. Reed reached her just in time. Blood stained the sand. The war walker roared again, its cannon charging. The raiders ran, one by one. Fleeing into the night. Reed held Lyra close. Her breathing was rough. She smiled weakly. "Still think I should leave?" she whispered. Reed shook his head. "You're not going anywhere." The war walker stood still now, waiting, and deep beneath the sand more machines began to stir. Lyra woke to the smell of herbs and the sound of a soft humming voice. She opened her eyes slowly and found herself inside the shelter again, lying on a warm bed made from old cargo blankets. Her side still burned from the blaster wound, but it was bandaged. The light was dim. Mira sat beside her, gently pressing a cool cloth to her forehead. "You're awake," Mira whispered, her face lighting up. Lyra tried to sit, but pain shot through her ribs. Mira stopped her with a light touch. "Don't move too fast. Dad said you need rest." Lyra looked around. "Where is he?" "Outside," Myra replied. "He's talking to the big robot. It won't move now unless you tell it to." Lyra smiled faintly. "It listens to family, not just blood, but bond." Mira leaned forward. "Then, your family now?" Lyra froze. Mira didn't speak for a moment. Then she added softly, "I saw you get hurt. You jumped in front of me. Like a mom." Lyra's throat tightened. "I'm not your mother," she whispered. "I know," Myra said, smiling, "but you could be." Before Lyra could respond, Reed entered. His face looked tired. His clothes were dusty, and there was a long scratch across his arm. But he smiled when he saw her awake. "You scared me," he said. "You scare me," she replied, her voice weak, but teasing, waking up in a strange place with humans. Reed laughed gently. "Well, it's not strange anymore. You've been here nearly a week." "A week?" She gasped, trying to sit up again. Reed placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Easy. That blast nearly took you out, but you healed fast." "I need to leave," Lyra said quickly, panic rising in her chest. "They'll return, stronger." Reed shook his head. "We're already preparing. The machine you woke? It's guarding the shelter perimeter. I've repaired the old fences. We've even set traps." Lyra looked down. "You're doing too much, for someone who isn't." "You are someone," Reed interrupted. "You matter, and you saved Myra." Lyra didn't respond. Her heart felt heavy. Reed sat beside the bed. "You're not just a guest here anymore, Lyra. Mira sees you as part of this family." I do too." Lyra's eyes shimmered. "But I bring danger. The more I stay, the more they come." Reed nodded. "That might be true. But you also bring something else. Strength. Hope. You helped wake that walker. You're not a burden, Lyra. You're a reason to fight." She looked away, silent. That evening, the 3 of them sat outside under the stars. The war walker stood quietly nearby like a sleeping giant. Mira laid her head in Lyra's lap as she hummed a soft alien song. Reed stared at the stars. "They say the stars remember everything," Reed said suddenly. Lyra raised a brow. "Who says that?" "Old miners," he replied, smiling. "Lonely ones," Lyra chuckled. "Then maybe the stars remember what I lost too." Reed looked at her. "You never told me about him." Your husband. Lyra nodded slowly. His name was Rollick. He was strong, kind, always believed there was more to life than war. Before he died, he told me to find peace. To find people who would protect life, not take it. Reed leaned back. Sounds like someone I would have liked. He would have liked you, Lyra said, then caught herself. Reed didn't comment, but his smile softened. Later, when Mira was asleep again, Lyra stood near the walker, watching it. Reed joined her. She keeps saying I should marry you. Lyra said, voice low. Reed chuckled. She's got strong opinions for her age. Lyra turned to him. Why aren't you pushing for it? Most men would use this to their advantage. I'm not most men, Reed said simply. I don't want someone to stay because they're scared or hungry. I want them to stay because they feel safe. Because they feel wanted. Lyra looked into his eyes. And if I say I don't know how to feel that way anymore? Then we take it slow, he said. One day at a time. She smiled faintly. You're strange. I get that a lot. Then, without warning, the war walker's eyes blinked. Lyra turned, startled. That's not supposed to happen. Reed stepped closer. What is it? The machine spoke. Its voice was deep and robotic. Incoming transport detected. 10 kilometers. Unknown markings. High threat. Lyra's heart dropped. It's him. Turk is coming. Reed's eyes narrowed. Then we prepare. Lyra looked at him, at Mira sleeping peacefully inside, and at the walker now waiting for commands. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like running. She felt like defending what was hers. Red stood in front of the glowing map on his old console. Red lights flashed slowly, showing the movement of Turk's incoming ship. It was big, for a scouting vessel. This wasn't a visit. It was an attack. He's not just coming for the pendant, Reed said. He's coming to destroy everything. Lyra stood beside him, quiet but focused. He always finishes what he starts. If I stay, we'll all die. Reed turned to her. If you leave, we still die, alone. Lyra met his eyes. For the first time, there was no fear, only fire. Then we fight together. They spent the next hours preparing. The war walker was ready. Lyra connected directly to its old control system, giving it limited commands. Reed buried explosive charges near the north edge of the valley. Mira, too young to fight, was sent to hide inside a reinforced shelter tunnel with a small radio and a flashlight. But I want to help, Mira said, holding Lyra's hand tightly. You already helped. More than anyone, Lyra said softly, brushing the girl's hair back. You gave me a reason to stay. Mira looked up with tears in her eyes. Promise me you'll come back. Lyra leaned down, kissed her forehead, and whispered, I promise. As the sun set, the sky turned orange and dark red. The sound of engines thundered from the horizon. Reed and Lyra stood on top of the shelter roof, watching the massive ship appear like a shadow with wings. It stopped just outside the range of their traps. Then smaller ships dropped from its belly. Black attack drones shaped like birds of prey. They hovered, scanned, then began their slow march forward. A voice came through the air, cold, sharp, and cruel. Alien widow. You've run long enough. You are carrying something that belongs to me. Reed grabbed the radio. You're not welcome here, Turk. There was a pause. Minor, Turk said with a laugh. You think you can stop me with tools and rusted machines? You're not a Taya. Soldier, you're a pebble in my path. Reed looked at Lyra. I'm getting tired of people underestimating minors. Lyra smiled. Let's show him what a pebble can do. As the drones advanced, the walker stepped forward, its massive foot crushing the rocks below. Lyra gave it one command: protect the shelter. The walker fired its first blast. A red beam cut through the dust and struck one of the drones, destroying it instantly. The others broke formation and started attacking from the sides. Turk's voice grew louder. You've made your choice. I'll tear down your home. Then I'll take the girl. I'll make you watch. Lyra's eyes flared with anger. Not today. She jumped down from the roof, rolling as she landed, then activated her shield. Blasts hit it, but the shield held. Reed opened the hidden trap trigger. A line of explosions rocked the valley's edge, knocking several drones into the air. Smoke and fire clouded the ground, but Turk wasn't done. From his ship, a larger creature emerged twice the size of the walker, old tech reforged into a monster. It walked on 4 legs and had rotating cannons on both sides. Reed's eyes widened. That wasn't in the plan. Lyra stared at it. That's the war beast of Ironfall. It was banned after it destroyed 4 cities. The war beast let out a mechanical roar and charged. The walker moved forward, blocking its path. Metal clashed. Cannons fired. The ground shook. Inside the shelter, Mira gripped her radio. Come back. Please come back. Outside, Lyra used her speed to draw away the drones. She jumped from rock to rock, dodging blasts, pulling them toward traps. Reed climbed a hill and took aim with his long-range energy rifle. An old mining cutter turned into a sniper weapon. 1 shot. Then another. The drones fell, but the war beast slammed the walker into the cliff wall. Sparks flew. The walker's left arm broke apart. Its systems blinked. It was losing. We need to end this now, Reed said, turning to Lyra. Lyra nodded. Then we go together. She ran toward the walker, climbed onto its damaged shoulder, and accessed the emergency protocol, a self-destruct blast designed to take down massive enemies. Reed stood below, covering her from the remaining drones. Lyra opened her come. Get Mira to safety, now. Reed's face turned pale. What are you doing? Fulfilling my promise, she said, tears in her voice. She will never go hungry again, not in fear, not in silence. Reed ran to stop her, but it was too late. The walker's chest opened. The countdown began. The war walker's chest glowed bright white, its core humming with rising energy. Lyra stood inside the open control panel, her hand hovering over the final switch. The self-destruct countdown blinked on a small screen. 058, 057. Outside, the war beast roared, charging forward again, its 4 metal legs shaking the earth. It had already crushed part of the cliff wall, and now it was moving straight toward the shelter. Reed climbed the walker's leg as fast as he could, yelling, Lyra, don't do this. We can find another way. She didn't turn. Her voice came through the cum softly. There isn't another way, Reed. If I don't stop it now, it will kill everyone, including Myra. Reed reached the top just as the countdown hit 041. He grabbed her arm. Then let me do it. You get out. Lyra shook her head, tears in her eyes. You have a daughter. She needs you. She needs you too, Reed shouted. You think this is what she wants? To lose you after she just found you? Lyra's hand trembled. Her heart felt torn. But the beast was closing in. She looked at Reed, then back at the switch. Please, Reed whispered, come home with me. Suddenly, a voice broke through the radio, small, scared, but strong. Lyra, don't leave me, Myra said. Lyra gasped. Myra, I'm not hiding anymore, Myra said. I ran out when I heard the explosions. I'm behind the hill, watching everything. Reed's face went pale. She's outside? Yes, Myra whispered, and I'm scared, not of the monster, but of you going away. Lyra's hand moved away from the switch. She looked at Reed with wide, teary eyes. I thought dying was the only way to protect her, she whispered. Reed nodded. Living is how you protect her. Staying, fighting, together. The countdown blinked. 022. Lyra slammed her hand on the override. The glow faded. The core powered down. The walker shook, its body groaning in protest, but it didn't explode. The War Beast was almost upon them. Now. Reed looked around. If we can't blow it up, we bring it down another way. He grabbed Lyra's hand. Follow me. They slid down the walker's arm and landed hard on the ground. Together, they ran toward the trap zone where Reed had buried old mining charges, small explosives used for rock clearing. As the beast chased them, Lyra pulled out her control device and sent a fake signal through the walker's system, making it flash its lights and retreat, baiting the beast. The beast turned, confused, then charged toward the blinking lights, right into the trap. Reed yelled, "Now!" He hit the trigger. A massive explosion lit up the sky. The earth shook. The war beast's legs crumpled. It crashed down, screaming with metal-on-metal shrieks before going completely still. Smoke filled the air. Silence followed. Lyra dropped to her knees, gasping. Reed looked at the fallen machine, then at her. It's over. They found Mira moments later behind the hill, curled in a ball, her hands covering her ears. She ran into Lyra's arms without a word, holding her tightly. Lyra wrapped her arms around the girl, burying her face in Mira's hair. Reed watched them both, heart full. In the following days, they rebuilt the shelter. Other survivors came from nearby zones, hearing rumors of the great battle. They saw the broken war beast, the massive walker, and the strange family who had protected the valley. Some called them heroes, but Reed didn't care about titles. One morning, as the sun rose over the hills, Mira came running into the shelter, holding something shiny. "It's a bracelet," she said, showing Lyra. "I made it with wires and crystals. I want you to wear it when you marry my dad." Lyra blinked. "What?" Mira grinned. "You promised you'd never leave, so now be my mom forever." Reed stepped into the room just then. He looked at Mira, then at Lyra. "She's not wrong," he said gently, "but only if you want it." Lyra looked around at the little home they'd built, the machines they'd repaired, the peace they'd fought for. She looked at Myra's hopeful face, and then at Reed, the miner who became her protector, her friend, her reason to stay alive. She took the bracelet. "I do." That night, under the stars, with broken machines guarding the land and new life, growing from the dust, a human, an alien widow, and a little girl sat together on a fire. No longer strangers. Just family. Forever.